Hello. First of all, I want to say thank you very much for deciding to click on my video. My name is Marceline, and today it's a bit of a different video than normal. I wanted to talk about kind of my own personal philosophy, but also just something that is really important that I think more people should give some thought to. A lot of times, people don't really give much thought to the weight of their actions or their words, and it's kind of, you know, pushed on us in a lot of ways to kind of see yourself as insignificant or what you do as insignificant, and that can manifest in a whole lot of different ways. you know I'm not going to try to list all of them, but you have it. I discovered today, it can trigger feelings of, isolation, or even like hatred, or just a complete lack of concern for other people. But also, it can lead to a lack of concern for yourself, which is something that I've experienced, where, if things feel hopeless, or it feels like what you do doesn't actually have an impact on the world. And especially with everything happening these days, it's very hard to kind of fight those feelings or that train of thought, for many reasons. There's a lot of reasons why that kind of stack together to build this, but ultimately, the idea that what you do doesn't matter, or that you don't matter, is just completely kind of provably false in a way that I think very deeply about a lot of the time, even though sadly just knowing it doesn't automatically fix the problem, but I think it can make things a bit better. And I wanted to share with all of you, however many all of you might be, my adoring fans out on YouTube. um, I love you all very much, whoever decides to watch these videos of me rambling. But pretty much I was spurred on to kind of give a impassioned speech in the middle of a conversation on a Discord server to someone who seemed to be struggling with this in a way that reminded me of how I have in the past. And so, yeah, I wrote this out, and this is the most succinct way I've ever kind of put these thoughts together ever. Like, I've talked about this with people many times, but I think this is the best I've ever done, just because I think in that moment, like, the passion of me, like, wanting to get through to them about it, I just made me lock the fuck in, I guess. So I decided, I should try to share this with more people. So I'm just gonna posit this to you, and I'm gonna be reading. So, but this is all me here. So, from the beginning of the universe as we know it, whatever that initial starting position was, every particle in the universe started moving with that initial velocity, and then interacting. That chain reaction continuing for countless eons in a long, impossibly complex domino chain where things interact, which then leads to the next interaction and the next, and so on. The Earth and all life on it, the living chemistry that is the still moving extension of that chain of events. All the way down to the DNA that forms our bodies and traits, and the electrons that pulse within our neurons that create our thoughts. Even down to the stimulus and conditions that cause our brains to form into the way they have, that has created us. Everything that happens leads to a starting point for some next interaction, many times one we may never see. And most times it's impossible to really tell. The big picture is so impossibly large, even on a human scale, much less any larger than that. And it's not really clear what free will is, or to what degree it actually exists in the way we perceive it, But regardless, I think it only makes sense to try and create the best starting point you can for the future, for other people or other creatures. Trauma and harm is honestly like a worldwide game of hot potato that's been going on since the dawn of humanity. Negative energy and positive energy being created by events that transpire and people's reactions to them, but a lot of it is interpersonal. And to the degree possible, it is better to attempt to lessen the negative energy that you allow to pass through you back into the world. And of course, that also goes for intentionally creating it. The the less negativity each person lets back into the world, the less in the total system. And the more positivity each person lets back into the world, the more there is in total in the system. And ultimately, the better starting points and outcomes we can create for the future that way. Even if we could never see or comprehend the full impact of our actions or habits, everything that happens really does matter, just often in ways we can't fully grasp on our scale. The domino effect and the butterfly effect are very real, and everything we do does matter tremendously. People look at time travel hypotheticals and worry about how moving a chair or speaking to the wrong person could radically alter history, but people rarely think about how being kind to others or helping someone in need or even a single word could change the future in the same way. Yeah, so you don't need to have a time machine to be able to radically alter the future. The way you choose to show up in your life for the people around you, the thought you put into the actions you take, there is no way to know the depth of the effect it could have. And I hope that that means as much to you as it does to me, because it's deeply beautiful, and you should never allow yourself to fall into the trap of thinking any different. Everything you do matters, and you matter very much so. And thank you very much for listening to my little speech here. I hope you have a wonderful, beautiful day. I'll see you next time.